Hey, this is Mr. York. Thanks so much for joining me once again. This video is about importing footage into Final Cut Pro and a little bit about file maintenance and trying to make sure that you understand where everything is at in your computer. In this version of Mac OS, I like to make sure when I first get started to change my preferences so that under Finder you make sure that your hard disks show up. I'm not sure why it is Apple thinks that we don't need these or why you wouldn't want them there. Also on the sidebar, I make sure that my movies, music, and pictures and everything else shows up whenever I'm looking through Finder or any of the other windows. And again, I'm not sure why Apple wouldn't want that or why it's set so that it doesn't, but most of the operating systems I've been dealing with, except for the new one, which I have not dealt with yet, they seem to have that by default as hidden. So you want to make sure that that shows up, makes it easy to just come over here to the hard drive and find any of the footage you're looking for. If I go to Documents, that's actually where my last video was saved. When I did a video on how to save Final Cut Pro, which is the last video that I did, the first video in this series. This is the second video. I had to pull it out from here, and I just moved it to the desktop so that I can upload that later on for everybody. If you go to Movies, you'll notice that these are those icons again that I was talking about. These are Final Cut Pro files, which means if I actually double click on these, it will open up Final Cut Pro and show me that particular video file that I was working on. For example, I have one here that says 2014 that I believe was some band footage I was working on. Here's one that says Untitled, and apparently it never got changed to anything else. I'm going to use that to show you how to change some things once you've already saved them. Maybe you didn't save them correctly like I didn't here. I'm not sure what this was supposed to be. It looks like it was an accident and just never got completed, or it might have gotten changed. I might have actually saved something and then gone through and decided to call it something else and the original never got taken out. So I'm going to double click on that just to show you. It's going to open up automatically, and if you look under the library on the left hand side here where it says Untitled, that's the one that I just came up with. Here's the one that I was saving last time. That's Project Lead the Way, and you'll notice that there is a project there inside that library. Again, it's Library, then Event, just the one-star icon, and then Project. You're used to probably, if you're used to working in other programs, there's usually just a project that you're working on. There's not this three-tiered system. The nice part about it is that you can have several libraries open at one time, and if you need to transfer footage between the two of them, it is possible to do that, or even titles. I often create titles in one library and then have to move it to another one, especially if I'm putting like my watermark or something like a lower third into my videos. To get rid of a library, it's not hard. All you have to do is come up here, and I'll show you on this one after. Oh, you know what? Let's retitle it first. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. I'm going to click on this one using an Apple click. Lately it's been working just to click on it once. And I'm going to show you how to title this. One of the other videos that I have to make coming up is actually my Final Cut Pro instruction. So I'm just going to title it that. I'm going to use that later on to edit all my footage that I'm making so that I have a place to make these videos and actually edit them. But I'm not going to do that right now, so I'm going to get rid of it. To get rid of a file, all I have to do is right-click and go to Close Library, Final Cut Pro Instruction. You actually can do it anywhere inside here when there's only one open or when there's one selected. Also, these arrows, again, will allow you to expand and collapse. So, just some tips as we go through this. And I'm going to close out of that. And now I'm back to Project Lead the Way Fall. My project is already open. The problem is that there's no footage here. So the footage is over here on my desktop. And if I open up Project Lead the Way files, these are the files that I need. These are the video files that I took of Project Lead the Way. Those are the ones that I want to actually edit together. So I know they're on my desktop. I recommend all my students that if you're importing footage to the computer, make sure that Final Cut Pro is closed. If it's open, it will automatically try to import your footage to Final Cut Pro, and that may not be what you want. It also makes it so that it's kind of doubling up your footage if you're actually transferring it to your desktop, because then it's not only just on your desktop, it's also in Final Cut Pro. The way that these computers are designed is so that if you plug in a camera to them or a card, that footage automatically goes straight into this program without ever even needing to go onto your computer. The problem with that is that if you look at your files and you go over here to movies, you're going to find that these files become huge. And even right now, this footage for Valley of Fire, which was a video I was working on, is not on my computer right now. But if I go to Get Info and check it, it's still 7 gigs. The original footage is nowhere to be found, but that footage is still embedded inside Final Cut Pro, and if I double click on that, it will open up everything. Same with American Wake, which is a band. You guys can check them out online, AmericanWake.com, or on YouTube. Probably not something you'd be interested in, but you could totally do that. If I go to info on this one, this is 38 gigabytes, which is a lot, and that's because I did several different projects within one library. And that's what happens. If you start to create several projects within a library or several events within a library, it actually just starts creating huge files for you. 38 gigs is pretty big. This one's only 7. But what I recommend is that if you are looking for file space on your computer, you're going to want to get rid of all of these. And again, also, it makes it easier if you import the footage separately, put it in a folder, and then open up Final Cut Pro like I'm about to do and import the footage that you actually need instead of just trying to get everything in there. So I should back these up and get rid of them. That'll free up some space for me. Apparently it'll free up, I still can't believe that. Is it 38? 38.9 gigabytes. That's a lot of space for that band footage. But I created 6 videos out of that, 6 separate videos. They're all up on YouTube now. And now I need to back it up. So let me show you how it works. To import in Final Cut Pro, all you have to do is go over here to this arrow, hit import, and then go find that footage. The easiest thing to do is to keep your footage on the desktop so it's easy to find. Hopefully you don't have too much other stuff on there. When you get to something that you want and there's an arrow next to it, if you click on it, it'll expand, and then you can go find the footage that you want. You can see these hex files, which are these ones right here. These are actually not regular files that this program can import or use. They're actually coding files, and we don't need those. So the movie ones come right up, and you can just hold down Shift in order to select more than one at a time. If I select one and then hit another one, nothing happens, but if I hit the first one, then hold down Shift, and then hit the last one, it'll select them all for me. That 3-step process is consistent for just about every set of files that you might be trying to either import, move, or rearrange in some way. Again, it's 3 steps. Just click the first one. Step 2, hold down Shift. And step 3, hit that last one. Takes 2 hands, I know. Then hit Import Selected. All of our files are up here in our media. One of the things that you might have to be careful with is that up here at the top it already says Hide Rejected. And I haven't rejected any, so everything's showing up, but it's a lot better if you make sure that you're on all clips, and then you can be ensured that you have everything. We've had cases where students have imported something and they can't find it, and it's because somehow it's clicked on or selected on unused or some other one that actually hides their clips. So make sure it says all clips if you ever miss that. If you want to see them better, you can always go to the clapboard like I showed you in the last video. Click it once, get rid of that clapboard, and then you can see all of your files here. If you need to see that sidebar again, just click one more time, it'll come back. You can rearrange any of these if you have room. Obviously I don't have much room. Yeah, I can't even move these over right now. That's about as far as they go. If you have a bigger screen, obviously it's easier. If you have an iMac, that'll work. And at this point, I am ready to edit, and so that is pretty much the end of this video. This was just about importing and file maintenance, and that's it. Thank you so much for joining me this time. If you want to figure out how to start editing and actually moving your footage down, which obviously is pretty simple, you just take it and drag it down here. And we can do that with all of our videos if we need to. If you want to go to the next step and editing beyond just moving your stuff onto a timeline, please check out part 3 in this series, which will be my next video on basics for editing in Final Cut Pro. Thanks so much. Have a great day.